There's no shortage of utes available on the Australian market today. And down here in the value segment, GWM are looking for your attention. My name's Daniel, and this is the GWM Cannon Vanta. The GWM Cannon Vanta sits between the Cannon X and the range-topping XSR in their lineup. At $46,490 drive away, the Vanta costs $2,000 more than the X and $6,500 less than the XSR. What's unique to the Vanta is that it comes with blacked out 18-inch rims, a black front grille, unique black sports bar, and black exterior mirrors and door handles. The XSR throws in a sunroof, snorkel, full body under chassis guard, steel bumpers, differential and more. The higher spec Cannon Utes also include this really handy pop-out step from the rear tailgate and a competitively sized tray that my child said is big enough to hold a picnic in. Sitting inside the Cannon, you're not wanting for space. This is quite a large car, and that translates to the interior as well. We have a large steering wheel to complement the car's proportions. The quality of the materials is pretty decent. I think at this price point you can't be complaining too much. With nice leather seats, diamond stitch carried through in the door cards and on the seats themselves. The dashboard's a little bit plasticky feeling. It looks decent for the price point. These air conditioning vents are a nice touch, sort of a retro kind of look to them. All buttons and things are where you would kind of expect them to be, within easy reach. There are flappy paddles for up and down changes, cruise control, radio, phone call, assist, and a horn, all within easy reach on the steering wheel. Cannon Utes, including the Vanta, have adjustable steering wheel, both in the up and down and the telescopic range there. So you should be able to set yourself up fairly easily. Power adjusted seats so that you can get that nice seating position. For myself, I found that the base of the seat felt a little short, so I'm not sure how this would go on a longer cruise. But that's probably a minor issue. There is no way to extend that bottom seat. The rear of the Cannon Ute is a nice place to be. I'm 180 centimeters tall and I'm sitting here with plenty of leg room to the seats in front. As we have map pockets in those seats, we have our own air conditioning vents, we have a power outlet and a USB point as well. The outer seats carry through the diamond stitch motif. They also have the ISOFIX anchor points for your child seats. We have a fold down armrest in the middle, but sadly there are no cup holders back here. The rear seat is also in a 60-40 split configuration, and I found that getting the seats to fold forward is probably one of the easiest to do in this segment. Installing my child's booster seat was a breeze. Access to the tethering points are here, and there's even some storage behind the seat. They fold up relatively easily, and there's also some under-seat storage just by pulling the seat bottoms up. Wired Android Auto or Apple CarPlay is required to provide satellite navigation and access to other phone apps. Via the center display you can access the radio controls, connected media, phone operations, climate control and the voice assistant, which may or may not have a typo on the screen here. Audio can be streamed from your phone via Bluetooth as well. There are 2 USB slots, and aside from being able to play music, you can also play videos and photos. Video does not play while driving of course, but you can display photos and play those via a slideshow with music playing in the background. An interesting feature should you wish to use it. Alright, well, now let's take it for a drive and we'll see what else we can talk about with the Cannon Vanta. So it's been quite warm in Sydney today. Thankfully the air conditioning is up to it. So at $46,490 drive away, you can get the Vanta in white, and then the 3 color options are red, blue, and this black, which are at $595 extra. So that's still not bad. And I think really, ideally, you'd really want this one in black. Although I wouldn't mind seeing how the red and the blue do look as well. All Cannon Utes are 2-litre turbo diesel, pumping up 120 kilowatts and 400 Newton meters of torque. Now, compared to the competition, that might be a little bit on the low side, but driving this thing around for a few days, I haven't found it too bad. It certainly isn't the quickest thing to get around, but I put that down to the size of the car. There's no denying that this is a large car, and it is up there with the other larger utes that you would expect, like the Ranger, the Amarok, the Hilux. But seriously, at this price point, you're undercutting those by a massive amount. Driving it around town, this car's not too bad. I mean, sure, it is large. Look at these people who just do the strangest things. Thankfully, there's a lot of safety and collision warning that comes standard with the Cannon as well. To complement the size of the ute, you get a lot of cameras and things around, 360 view as well. So navigating the Cannon around suburbia and car parks is actually not too bad. I did comment earlier, the steering wheel is quite large, and so it does feel like you are navigating a ship around sometimes, but it is helpful, obviously power assisted. And yeah, I've found that even in car parks and places like that, you can get this ute around fairly easily. So the Cannon comes with 3 drive modes at the moment, and pretty much by default you'll always turn the car on in normal mode. You are able to use the center dial here to change it, and you'll get some of the nice beeps to tell you that it has changed. So I've now changed it into eco mode. This should decouple the front wheels so that you basically is a rear-wheel drive, and I suppose will improve your fuel economy getting around town. The other drive mode is sport mode, and this sort of improves the engine response a little bit more. It does give the car a little bit of extra get up and go, which is quite surprising for something this size. Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure how much you would use the sport mode. I do find getting around in normal mode is quite sufficient. Similarly to that, you actually have steering wheel modes as well, so that you can change how the steering feel is. Again, I've left it in normal, but you do have sort of a comfort and a more sporty feel. That's a separate setting to the drive modes. You will have to change that separately if you would like to. Being a 4-wheel drive, there are different 4-wheel drive modes available as well, such as 4 low, which is a button by the gear selector down here, and I haven't had a chance to do any 4-wheel driving or towing in this vehicle, but I am sure it is up to the task. Now, one of the things with the Cannon Utes is that as you slow down for any sort of maneuvering or at a junction, the cameras will activate. And while this is a decent safety feature, showing you graphics of the car pulling up, showing you the side cameras and where you're positioned with relative to other traffic, when that camera is activated, you can't actually access anything else on the main screen there. So that can be a little frustrating if you want to access anything else, and even just changing the air conditioning or something like that is a little bit of a guesswork. But the safety cameras are more than useful when it comes to knowing the distance between yourself and the car in front, either when parking or joining a queue of traffic. As you get going, you'll be able to access your screen again, which is handy, but obviously you're now focused on driving rather than flicking through a menu, so it's a little bit something to get used to. Now the cabin's pretty quiet. Obviously you're going to get a little bit of road noise because of the kind of tyres that are on this car, but you know, for its spaciousness and the size, We're doing fairly well in here. The engine may sound a little bit coarse sometimes, but I think that just comes with being a diesel. And certainly the driving position is fairly high. We're sitting up higher than the Volvo in front of us. We're about level with this Mazda here. The only thing that really rivals us in traffic is other utes of similar size. Now, something I probably can't review here too much, but the audio system in the Cannon Utes is adequate. It's not going to win any awards. And another thing that will happen is that as you slow down for a junction, when the safety camera information will come up on the screen, it has a habit of lowering the volume of the music that's playing. Now all of this can be adjusted and turned off, for example, but out of the box, that's probably what you're going to find your Ute's going to be doing quite a lot of, and it can be a little bit frustrating, I can tell you. On the other side of that, the phone call quality is fairly decent though. People come through quite clearly, and yeah, no problems connecting your phone via Bluetooth so that you can get a call through. The Cannon Ute has a 7-year unlimited kilometer warranty, which is kind of on par with the competition and better in some ways too. I believe SsangYong limits you to 200,000. Okay, so the 7 years is up there, Ks are up there, and at cap price servicing starts with your servicing at 6 months, and then every 12 months after that. First service is about, I believe, $260, and then all of them after that are $360. So you know what you're going to be spending for the first few years as well. You get 5 years of roadside assistance in amongst that too. So who are GWM trying to target with this car? Well, clearly they have their main competitors, the SsangYong Musso and the LDV T60, which is also from China. But they could also be after those who might be in the market for a second-hand Ranger, Hilux, or Triton Navara, something like that. And I guess the benefit that you would have in going for something like this instead is that you'll be backed by that 7-year unlimited kilometer warranty. And I think you can probably do just as well. Unless you particularly want a Toyota, Ford, or, you know, something. It's probably, you know, it will have been used and it's probably been well used. You can get something new and of decent quality with that backing. I'd say it'd be worth a try. Now, fuel consumption, I believe GWM have this at around 9.4 litres to the 100. Just the kind of driving I've been doing and trying to review this, my average fuel consumption has been a little bit higher than that, I think 12.5. That's been a mix of motorway and suburban driving, so real results may vary. Being a diesel, the fuel obviously has lasted quite some time as well. As it comes, there's no covers or anything with this, but you can obviously accessorize the car to your heart's content, including stuff on the roof, add a snorkel, add a nudge bar, things like that. GWM and obviously the aftermarket will have those available. And there's a Cannon X. So we're starting to see these cars around a little bit more. I don't know if they're as popular as some of the other brands, of course, but maybe people are just starting to see that this is a bit of a good value deal. The 8-speed ZF transmission is smooth. It doesn't often have trouble finding what gear to be in, although I think the first time I drove it out and I had it under cruise control, it just seemed to sit in too high a gear for a bit too long, but that wasn't too much of an issue either. Cruise control is great. It does have the radar detection to the car in front, and that is adaptable. You can change that down to a reasonable distance, whereas some cars, but even on the lowest setting, you're leaving football fields of distance between you and the car in front. And even just in turning, sometimes the car will just still beep at you, like it's warning you about something. Some of the quirks I noticed were that you could change the colour of the car on the camera display, but just not to black or red. and this particular car would have a delay between pushing start and the engine turning over, especially on cold starts, and the door unlock lock would hesitate if using the door handle sensor and button combo. The key fob would work fine, however. It was also frustrating when trying to use the menu buttons on the steering wheel. It took a few days to realise I needed to press OK and clear a bunch of error messages before I could scroll through these additional menus. As well as missing out on rear cup holders, the rear cabin also doesn't feature an interior light, which my child noted while trying to buckle themselves in one night. But there are some niceties as well, like the USB port behind the rear vision mirror to assist with installing a dash cam, and what GWM call front fog lamp when steering automatic lighting, where the fog lamps on each corner light up to assist when navigating bends, roundabouts, or manoeuvring at low speeds in low light conditions. And let's also not forget that the GWM Cannon Utes have a 5-star ANCAP rating, which was tested in 2021. All up, I've had some fun with the GWM Cannon Vanta, and a huge shout out to GWM and Exhaust Notes Australia for letting me have their car for a week. I think if you're in the market for a new Ute or a second-hand one at about the $50,000 price range, I'd put this on your list. Just give it a look, give it a drive, and remember you're going to have that 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty. Certainly would put that above any of the second-hand options. Of course, the things that we can't really test on a test drive like this is how durable the vehicle is going to be in the long term, and what the experience is going to be like with the dealerships when you go for service or if something goes wrong. What are your thoughts? What do you think? Do you own one? Have you considered one? Would you consider one? Sound off in the comments below. We'd really like to know. If I've missed anything or if you have any questions, also please feel free to write below. And yeah, thanks all for watching. Thanks Exhaust Notes Australia. Check out our other articles and reviews. We're going to be posting a lot more. Yeah, great. Thanks everyone. See you around. Cheers.